Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What. Today we've got Lauren Marsh on, who is a beauty and fashion photographer. Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
How are we today?
Yeah, good. Thanks. How are you guys?
All good. Glad the sun has finally come out. It's been absolutely pissing down, but now it's nice and sunny.
Finally, that's what we
I
all
know,
wanted.
rubbish summer.
Yeah.
Lauren, do you want to tell everyone a bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I am a fashion and beauty photographer based mostly in London, but I'm trying to expand that out. But yeah, I do a lot of campaigns, e-commerce. I'm getting more into advertising side of things as well. So working with bigger brands, slowly but surely. And yeah, I'd say that sums it up.
Amazing. So, how did you get into the world of photography then? Did you pick up a camera at a young age, or is it something new? Where did this love come from?
Yeah, I'd say it was a fairly young age because I remember buying a camera with my pocket money when I was younger. But I've always been quite creative. I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer actually first. So I went to Central St Martin's and realised during the foundation diploma that I didn't want to be a fashion designer. So I could swiftly made an exit on that one. But yeah, ended up specialising in graphics there. Didn't bother with going on to do a BA. So I went traveling and took tons of shots that out there, and then decided to come back and start my own business. So kind of went from there really.
Wow. So, you went straight into your own business doing photography?
Yeah, because I'm
Wow.
a mad,
That's a
mad
big
woman.
decision, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. No one's really done it that way, so it's kind of a bit weird. But you know, it worked for me. But yeah, it was just like I think it's quite a long process if you don't probably do it the traditional route. But I think any route could be fairly slow depending on where you take it. So
Mm.
so it is a really hard industry to tackle because it's so saturated. But if you're really passionate and love it, then you'll be able to
How did
thrive.
you learn photography? Did you just go out there, just start taking snaps? You saw what worked, what didn't work. Did you have a mentor? Was it like
Um,
what was the process for you?
it was mostly a lot of YouTube videos and practicing and books. And my partner at the time gave me a book to read, and that was, yeah, it was a good like segue in. But mostly it was practicing really.
That kind of YouTube kind of group on there that do photography and videography, you can kind of end up a bit down a rabbit warren. I always find with
Yeah.
with like watching their videos, they go on for hours. Like I've been
Yeah.
on there just watching like Peter McKinnon, Matty Hooper, like all of these people that do photography, and you can learn so much actually nowadays just by doing that, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot because I think when I started, there was a lot less of that going on, whereas a lot of people are willing and open to give out info as part of their marketing strategy now. So I think it's changed a lot. Definitely would have liked it to have been like it is now when I first
Mm.
started. Probably would have sped up my process a little bit, but
So you went away and on traveling and started taking pictures then. But obviously now you do fashion and beauty. Did you come back and sort of go straight into fashion and beauty, or what was sort of your progress into that side of the industry?
I mean, I did like a wedding first, and that was like my first paid gig, really. And then I was mostly doing products actually at the start, which is probably why I don't really enjoy doing products so much now, but it's just part and parcel of being a photographer in fashion and beauty, really. But yeah, I'd say I mostly just like jumped into doing lots of different bits and seeing what I kind of liked from there. And I decided quite quickly I didn't like weddings, so I just outright banned them from my calendar. Everyone's like, they're good money though, and I'm like, it's not worth it. It's just really not worth it.
Yeah, it must be a tough gig. There's a lot of pressure on you as well to get the perfect shots. And I imagine some brides and grooms can be quite demanding.
Yeah, I think it's less that. I don't mind that so much. I think it's just the fact they're pretty much all the same. Everyone thinks they have different weddings, but they don't really. It's just too much. I like stuff where it's just constantly different, which I think is why fashion and beauty is really intriguing to me, because I think you can just come up with so many creative concepts, whereas people, if it's your wedding, you kind of have to get like the similar-ish shots of each time, unless you've got like a really creative couple. I did this amazing wedding for a girl I actually met through fashion show, and I really enjoyed her wedding, so that was different. But yeah, I think I just slowly built in through that. I did a lot of invisible mannequin, which kind of helped with like building up my fashion database. And then I just did loads of portfolio editorial stuff for myself, and obviously to kind of showcase some more brands, and then it just kind of worked from there. I also did a stint doing fashion week for different places, and I ended up being picked by well, I don't know what they're called now, I think it's a different name now, but they used to be called the Communication Store, and yeah, they picked me to do theirs, so it was a really good insight into the fashion world through them as well. It was really great for that.
So you came back from traveling, you'd taken a load of photos while you're out there, keep working on your craft, but how did you kind of make that transition? Like, how did you get your first in the world of beauty or fashion? Is it a case of networking all the time, or just getting that first gig?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I think it's a really steady build up on like all sides, because the more you're practicing doing your portfolio editorial work, like I didn't work for free for any fashion brands ever. Like I haven't done that. I don't ever believe that that's a good way into the industry. I think that's outright way to not really succeed, to be honest. So yeah, it was mostly, you know, working, doing a portfolio few shots for like to showcase, and then taking it from there. So I think, sorry, what was your question again? I've completely gone off topic.
That's right, no problem. How did you kind of get it? So you came back from traveling, and then you thought, right, I'm going to get into fashion and beauty. Did you start networking with fashion and beauty brands, or how did you get that first sort of in?
I did a lot of finding job posts online, different ones through, like there's an alumni thing for UAL, so that's how I found the Communication Store. Okay. But yeah, I just did a lot of well, Twitter was quite big at the time, so I did a lot of looking on there to see who was looking for photographers, and that worked as well, because I found a client through that. So I just kind of like build it up through there and through the editorial side as well. So it was just like a gradual build up. Yeah, both ends. So that's why I did a part-time job whilst I did that, doing social media for a company. And and then it just got to a point where I had too much work to do both jobs. So my mom was like, take the hit, take the risk, go for it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it's quite a saturated market, this place now, you know, loads and loads of people using sort of Instagram to display their portfolios, and brands are finding them, and it's an incredibly competitive space, being a photographer anyway. How are you still standing out in the marketplace? Is there anything that you kind of really focus in on to stand out?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, you just got to keep up with like what trends are kind of, I mean, have your own style, definitely. But if you're looking at a more commercial way of doing things, then get that style in your portfolio and really market it and send out emails to people. I mean, I say that as a very, I can tell people what to do. I haven't really been doing it myself, but I'm meant to be starting to send out emails so I can get into being with more different clients and stuff. So I would say the best way has been social media really, and SEO on website, things like that. SEO is really key. That comes from my social media background, so
yeah, that's helpful. I feel like
it's very helpful. But it's really easy to learn. Like I didn't get trained by anyone to do that. Like everything that you need to know is online. It's just whether you actually put the time in to do it, really.
Yeah. And so then what is an average day like for you? You know, are you working with clients? Are you doing shoots? Are you doing admin? Break down an average day for us.
Okay, so General day. I would say, yeah, I could be doing a shoot one day, have an admin day the next, maybe do an edit day if I'm not outsourcing it for whatever reason. And then usually try to do all three of those things at one go at some point, because that's usually how it is. I mean, if you're the only one in your business, then it can only be you who gets all that stuff done. So you'll have, sending off files to outsourcers or sending them off to clients and invoicing them and making sure that they've paid you, and then also trying to shoot everything and be creative. It's a massive balancing act, but obviously it can be done. It's just, gotta have the stamina, really.
Is there anything you do to kind of keep that creativity and that inspiration up whilst, because running a business is hard, so how do you find the time to get away from it and keep that creativity going?
I would say taking fairly regular breaks. I mean, obviously the last year or two it's just been a bit different, but usually I would have a number of holidays in a year to try and just give my brain some space and not to be thinking, and just say I'm out of office and switching off. You can switch off to an extent. There'll always be someone who will urgently need you at some point, but there's nothing that an out of office can't usually sort, or make sure you've really sorted everything out before you've left. But that's usually how I deal with it now. I think it's just giving yourself a bit of a moment, really, and not thinking that you need to shoot every single hour of the day. Actually taking time to focus on what creative point of view you want to have next. And to be honest, a lot of my ideas come to me when I just wake up in the morning, so then I just kind of go from there and see what comes out. Experiment.
And for you, what do you think are some personality traits you see in yourself and maybe some other photographers in the industry that you think really help someone thrive with what you're doing?
Just being really hardworking and just willing to experiment on stuff, not maybe being so rigorous with the way things are, and learning what your flaws are as a business person is really good, because you can outsource those bits so that you don't end up wasting so much time and energy on something that actually not good at anyway. I think I would say that's probably key.
Yeah. And for you, what would be the biggest positive you've had out of this this jump into a business?
Well, sorry, I don't really understand the question.
Sorry, what would you think is the biggest positive you've had so far, from deciding to start this business and being a fashion photographer?
Oh, I see. So I would say just having my own schedule and be able to do what I would like to do, because I don't know, I just like being able to go on holiday when I want to go on holiday and having a life, if it's nice and sunny and I can outsource a project or do something like that, I can have a day off without being I need to talk to someone and tell someone.
100%.
I would say that.
Oh, on the flip side of that, what would be some less favorable or negative aspects of the industry?
I would say, generally speaking, when you're not on holiday, or maybe if you are, but not necessarily always being able to switch off when you want to. But that's I think that's something that really you learn with time. And I used to be a lot worse at that, but now I'm definitely getting better. And I think that's probably the hardest part. And just even if you're exhausted or you're ill, having to still work, because if you don't work, then you don't get paid. So
and what would be the biggest opportunity you've had so far doing this?
I would say biggest opportunity was probably I did my first advertising campaign last year, as in it was definitely an advert. Obviously you get lots of people who end up using your stuff and wanting to do it for advertising campaigns, but it actually being a commissioned advert, and it was for Biore, and I got to work with an influencer who's been on a bunch of different things. But that was probably a highlight, really, because I got scouted, and it was really nice. It was really hard to get the job, but it was it just felt like a big, everything that I'd just been working towards in my portfolio kind of come come like to fruition, really.
Amazing. And if your job didn't have a job or had a job description, what would be something that probably wouldn't be in it, but you still have to deal with?
Sorry, can you say that one again?
Yeah. If your job had a job description,
yeah,
what would be something that probably wouldn't be in that job description, but you still have to deal with?
Managing expectations and production. I think a lot of clients come being like, oh, you can do all of this, and you're like, actually, that's, you don't have to do all that. I'm gonna do it because I'm a nice person and I want to like make this as good a shoot as possible. But a lot of people can come not really knowing fully what they want, or not knowing anyone in the industry, and expect you to do everything. And yeah, I would say that's probably it.
Are there any skills that you wish you maybe learn before going into this industry? Obviously, you have photography is like the main thing, but there's obviously a lot more around that. Is there anything you, if you could go back, would you have learned previously?
Yeah, I think I would have learned I would have tried to maybe do a bit more assisting, because I didn't really do that. I only assisted my friend, Sarah Brick. She's a really, really good photographer, and I assisted her twice. But that was it. And like, she showed me some like really great techniques and ways of doing things, which I wouldn't have been able to get from necessarily, I don't think so, looking on a YouTube video. I could be wrong. To be honest, I haven't looked for ages, so it might all change. But yeah, I just feel like I think it's different seeing something in the flesh versus seeing something on a video. And obviously being able to see that would have really helped earlier on. I would have probably made a lot less like errors with lighting.
And how does somebody begin to progress once they're in the industry? Is it just a case of building up their portfolio, networking, or is there anything else they can do?
I would say it's just slowly doing it all and making sure that you keep. I know everyone hates social media. Well, not everyone, but I really hate it. Social media, but actually just getting a kind of app that sends out auto publishes stuff, so you can do like, you could get that done within half a day, and you could have a whole month's worth of posts from stuff that you've done. And I really think that helps with like slowly surely like gaining people's more attention, but obviously you've got to have the portfolio to back it up. But so yeah, I would say generally making sure that your portfolio is up to date regularly, like keep experimenting and then keep networking. But to be honest, a lot of it's word of mouth as well. Like not only just I've lost out on a lot of jobs from not knowing the, say, art director involved, things like that. So it's really good to network as well if you can. But obviously it's really hard, especially now. So I would say just kind of getting into people's view with social media is a fairly good way of doing that in this current
Is that how the majority of networking is done, is through social media? Or you obviously said there's this fashion week in London, going there and talking to people, is that quite a big way of networking in this industry?
I would say fashion week's pretty pointless, to be honest. Now having done it, that's probably going to go down like a storm, me saying that. But no, I just think like unless it's a presentation, then there's not really, you don't really get to network that much there because everyone's busy. It's not a time to talk to people. It's time to get your job done. So I don't think that's necessarily a good place. If there was like networking sessions and parties afterwards, then yeah, potentially. But again, I don't know how many people actually care about talking about work during those moments. So I'd say it's probably getting people to go for a coffee in a quieter period of the year would be a lot more beneficial. Again, you know, Rich coming from me because I still haven't done all this, but from what other people have said to me, I think that's key.
So you mentioned e-commerce at the beginning of the chat, and you know that it's a growing sort of sector, and being in fashion and beauty, they're two huge sort of subsectors of e-commerce. Do you have to do a lot of reaching out via social media, and sort of do you look for these startups in e-com to approach them and sort of build clients that way as well, or is that something you're thinking of doing later on?
That's something I was thinking of doing later on. To be honest, I'd be more interested in talking to agencies now rather than going direct to brands. So a lot of startup brands don't necessarily have the funds and will try to like kind of scrimp on everything, which is quite exhausting sometimes. So
Sure.
it depends on how much you would like the money. But I would say, yeah, I think I'm really lucky. I've managed to kind of get it where a lot of people actually message me now because they found my work. So I think it's kind of hard to say what would be the best route of doing that now, but I would definitely say getting in contact with brands that you actually like is always a good thing.
And would you still go into this industry knowing everything you know now?
Yeah, I think so. That's a really hard question, actually. Yeah, I think so. I still enjoy it loads. I think sometimes it does get a bit exhausting, but I don't think I've had opportunities to potentially change my path and I haven't. So I guess the answer would be yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been really interesting hearing all about your career.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Where can people reach out and find you, see what you're up to and all your stuff?
So my Instagram is Lauren Marsh Photography and my website is laurenmarsh.co.uk. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. I get a lot of students asking me questions or needing to be interview me for whatever for their studies. So I do that fairly regularly and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm actually happy to talk about any pricing because that's the one thing that really drives me nuts with people trying to break into the industry is the lack of understanding of actually how you need to price even from the get-go. And I think that really does need to change. So I'm deciding whether I'm going to make a PDF for that to put on my website to send people to, because I think is that part of the education has not been given yet. And I think a lot of people are scared to talk about money or want to hide how much they earn, but I don't really understand why, because it just means that the industry, there's lots of weak points in it where a lot of other industries don't have that. So it would be good to close the gap.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks.